Welcome to John Esse's Sports Channel and Championship Week 2 predictions. Let's go straight into it. There's a fair bit to cover. Derby County versus Coventry first. Of course, Derby County did a double over Coventry City last season. Coventry fans not too on the up on this one. I've heard a few of you that you're not quite optimistic, are you? Derby County, though, last time out, Drawthorns 1-1 draw at West Brom, and you have to think, that Derby County side, that front end is an amazing front end. It could do so well in the Championship, but it's not clicking at the minute. And it's shown from the week before, the Saturday, the away defeat to Stoke City. I really thought that Derby should and could win that Stoke City side. However, Stoke City scoring 3 goals there at home. They can score at home, but that defence can be rather iffy. Okay, they did let one in. I think that there's a lot more to see from this Derby County side. Will they be able to do it in this home game? Let's have a think as we go to Coventry. Coventry, of course, last night was a 1-0 home win against Luton Town. Now that Luton Town side is a little bit jaded. It can play some good football. I think it played some decent football against Hull. It's just that they just couldn't break it down. So last weekend 0-0 against Hull City, and I think Coventry, everybody looking at this team thinking that against that Hull City side they should have been really rampant. 58% possession, in fact, for Coventry City. 18 shots, only 3 on target though. And again, they're making just a few errors and a few mistakes. And as it happened, not in defence against Hull, I don't think. Most of the errors for me were sort of midfield stroke in the attack or supplying the attack. And they were doing that last season, but a lot of the time the mistakes were in defence. This Coventry City team just seems to be... It's not brushed off that those little niggles and those little errors that they were doing last season. Derby County, Coventry, what are you lot saying? 1-1, 1-0, 1-1, 0-0. I don't think there's going to be a great deal of goals in this one. I think it will be, like you're all saying, one either way. This could be 1-0 Derby, it could be 1-0 Coventry, it could be 1-1 in the middle. What are we going to say? I'm going to start sitting on the fence and we're going to go with Derby 1, Coventry 1, and we'll move on. So let's go for Portsmouth versus Norwich. Portsmouth last night was Carabao Cup defeat at home to Reading 2-1, and Portsmouth had 2/3 of the play there, almost just above 63%, I think it was. Pretty much even if you look at the actual stats there. But they couldn't get over this Reading side, who have the ability to control games extremely well. First time out, that Reading side were actually really in. They lost, but they actually got about 63-64% possession. They can actually control games, that team. So I'm not surprised that they were a pain in the arse, and I'm not surprised they won. Disappointed, I think, would be the way of putting the local Portsmouth fans. The week before, 1-0 win away at Oxford, and I thought that could have been a lot more. That goal that was disallowed was never offside in a million years. As the ball came through, as the ball hit the foot, or the foot hit the ball, not only was the player onside, he was actually running in the opposite direction. So he was onside and not interfering with play. So a clear goal disallowed there. Could have been 2, could have been 3. I think that Oxford were okay, but I think that Portsmouth were just a little bit better on that particular day. Norwich City, of course, last night 2-1 winners away at Watford in the Carabao Cup. And if we look at the stats quickly, Norwich City 55%, 11 shots, 5 of those on target. So in this game, Norwich had 5 shots out of 11 on target, and Watford had 2 shots out of 10. That was the difference here. Norwich seemed to be able to have a good conversion rate in that game. The weekend before, of course, last week, the first game of the season, Millwall at home, they lost 2-1. Now, a lot of people that I was speaking to, a little bit either side on that game, not quite sure which way you were going to go. 15 shots each in that game, 3 shots on target each in that game. It was just down to how many of those 3 shots went in the net. And for Millwall, it was 2. For Norwich, it was 1. And I really did, when Norwich equalised at 4 minutes after Millwall, I just thought that they might be able to do one of their late surges that they're renowned for, and it just didn't come off, and Langstaff obviously scored on 83 to win it for Millwall. Millwall are they've started to do well away from home at the beginning of last season. I was quite impressed by it. Certainly a turnaround from some of the away games that we've seen in previous seasons. So both of these teams have won 1 and lost 1 in the last week, and both of them are really wanting to make a statement here. Portsmouth, though, are the ones at home, and I'm worried that this Portsmouth side really does have a really good following here, and that even though Norwich fans, I'm expecting a good following from you lot, I just think that Norwich's side just hasn't been improved enough for me this season, and I saw the not only not an improvement, but a slight degradation of this side's performances during last season, and I just can't see it completely turning around. Stagnant is possibly the best option for me. Portsmouth, Norwich, what are you saying? 2-1, 2-0, 2-1, 2-1. Guess what, guys? I'm going to go with you lot. I think you're probably about right. Portsmouth 2, Norwich 1, and we'll move on to the next game. So the next game is Wrexham versus Albion, and let's get that one up for you. Wrexham, of course, new boys from League One. The first game they lost 2-1 to Southampton, and I think they were really, really unlucky. They really did defend really, really well, but that Southampton side was peppering that goal, wasn't it? And it was just a case of when are they going to get the winner rather than if. Even though it was really late on, I think that Wrexham just never got. In the second half, I don't think they ever did get out of their own half. 75% possession to Southampton in that game. Wrexham's goal came from a Windass penalty, so it wasn't even open play. 2 shots on target for Wrexham against 10 for Southampton. Shots at target, Southampton 27, 10 of them on target. Wow, 10 shots for Wrexham though, so they weren't out of it completely. And for 25% possession, that is actually showing a really good catching them on the break. And they did try and catch them on the break. So that was the game at Southampton. Carabao Cup for Wrexham, 3-3 draw at home to Hull City. Hull City have their issues. Doesn't seem to be making a lot of difference on pitch, which it can do quite often. Things off field tend to make an awful lot of a difference on field. The Hull City fans should be quite happy that it's not appearing to have done as big a harm as what it could have done. So here I'm a little bit confused how they managed to let in 3 goals against a Hull City side that is, for me, a mid-table championship team. There's a West Brom, of course. West Brom, the Drawthorns last night against Derby County. Now both of these teams are sort of aiming, I think, to be right in that middle chunk, aren't they? At least, and I think both of them, I think Derby hoping to be high enough to be in that bottom, that middle chunk, and West Brom hoping that they're no lower than the middle chunk. So they're sort of their opposite ends are right together in the middle of the table. I can see why it was a 1-1. West Brom are usually quite good. Well, last season they were quite good away from home. I was going to say they're quite good at home defensively. They usually are, but towards the latter end of last season, they actually started improving, and the Drawthorns became a thing of the past, and they started winning at home or losing. So it was an impressive change. I actually preferred the change. I think there is a more exciting football than just trying to make sure you don't let one in. So we had the game last week for West Brom, 1-0 home win against Blackburn, and I just want to have a look at that one because obviously you had Darnell Furlong sent off a 90+5 for West Brom. Insane. However, you've got the stats: 56% to Blackburn, 9 shots, 1 on target. Importantly though, West Brom 13 shots from 44%, 5 of them on target. This team does seem to have a modicum of abilities, technical abilities, to actually get those shots on target. And 5 shots on target, 1 in the net. They would have hoped for more than that, I think. However, 15 minutes, Isaac Price scored what appeared to be the winner. So that was a day well worked for them. Nothing brilliant about this Albion side that really sparks me into thinking that that they can do this first away game and win. Those first 2 games are at home. 1-0 win against Blackburn, 1-1 draw against Derby. I think they may find it a little bit tough against the Albion, against Wrexham. Sorry, Wrexham can score. They can do well. They didn't show very much enthusiasm for trying to score in that last game, but Wrexham can indeed, against the Southampton squad at least, and I think that's going to show the difference in class there. Really showed how much Wrexham thought, well, we can't attack Premier League class players, let's just try and hold them off, and it did. Catch them on the break. They tried, didn't work. However, it's this Albion side and its lack of brilliant of anything really. There's no spark there for me. What are you saying? 0-1, 2-1, 1-1, 1-1. I think that Wrexham may. I'm going to go against you lot. I'm actually one of you did say this in the comments. I'm going to go with Wrexham 2, Albion 1, because I think that Wrexham here just have the ability to catch people on the break, and I think it's that catching Albion on the break that will be the point here. So that's Wrexham 2, Albion 1. We move on to the next game. So we go for Blackburn at home to Birmingham. Now, Blackburn last weekend, it was a 1-0 defeat to West Brom, and that's away to West Brom, and they get a 1-0 defeat there. And then at home, they lost 2-1 to Bradford City. Let's just have a quick look at the stats for the Bradford City defeat. Of course, at home, they would have hoped for a lot more. And they got hit by a brace. Well, 2 goals in 2 minutes from Bradford. Wow, they certainly did start off well, didn't they? Blackburn got 65% possession overall. They're 15 shots. That's pretty good. 4 on target. They would have hoped for more than that. 4 on target, 1 in the net is pretty good. However, 5 on target out of 9 for Bradford, and of those 5, 2 in the net. They would have been grinning, wouldn't they? They would have been absolutely over the moon, their fans. So that's Blackburn. We got Birmingham next. Birmingham last weekend was crikey. It was Ipswich. So it was Ipswich 1. Ipswich 1. Was it away? It was at home. It was Birmingham 1, Ipswich 1. Sorry, I was looking for a Carabao Cup there. They're not played yet. It was a 1-1 draw at home to Ipswich. And I really thought Birmingham did extremely well here. I thought that Birmingham were certainly showing their prowess. I mean, to be pegged back in 90+5 minutes, a dubious penalty at that. 51% to Birmingham, 11 shots, 3 on target, 1 in the net. Ipswich had one shot on target and they scored one goal on 90+5. I think this Ipswich side was looking pretty jaded. The Birmingham side was looking pretty good. When I look at these two so far, 2 defeats for Blackburn away and one away, one at home, and the Birmingham draw at Ipswich, and I'm thinking how they played and how well that team played. I think that the Blackburn side are going to be a little bit worried here. What are you lot saying? 1-2, 0-2, 0-2 and 0-0. I don't think it's going to be 0-0. Both of these sides can score. Birmingham certainly can score. I'm going to go with Blackburn 0 and Birmingham 2. We move on to the next game. Remember, do like, do subscribe. I'll see you in live. So we go, Bristol City, Charlton, and wow, last weekend Bristol City 4-1 winners away to Sheffield United. I mean, where did that one come from? And you know, if you look at the stats, 26% possession to Bristol City, 5 shots, 9 shots, 5 on target, 4 in the net. Ouch. They were just clinical. They were just absolutely stonewall clinical. That was the point here. Sheffield United, 74% possession, but they're just playing around in midfield and defence, not actually getting too many clear shots on goal. 20 shots at goal. A lot of them sort of wayward and from distance. 6 shots on target, however, and a fair few blocked, I will admit. So that Bristol City defence blocking 8 shots there. So they did do a damn good job in defence, Bristol City, when Sheffield United had the ball and were pushing high up in the midfield area, sort of close into that final third. But 6 shots at target, 1 in the net. They'll be really down about that one. A 4-1 defeat at home in the first game is not good for Sheffield United. Very good for Bristol City. And then we go to the Bristol City game again in the Carabao Cup against Milton Keynes Dons. 2-0 home win. Can't really say much about that. I mean, it's very much going to be let's just see how many we can change and can we get the kids in. 65% possession, 13 shots, 2 on target. It's a different team, so you can't really. It's trying to judge apples with pears on that one. Charlton Athletic, we got a 1-0 win in the first home game of the season against Watford, and that one. It was a 90+4 minutes winner by Harvey Nibbs, and I'm looking at it and thinking, this is going to be 0-0. This is going to be 0-0. Lots of shots, but only a few of them getting on target. 42% to Charlton, 12 shots, 5 on target, 1 in the net. You know, that's actually quite good. Perhaps edging on a second goal would have been good for them there. But like I said, Watford, 58% possession, 10 shots, 1 on target, none in the net, and we just seem to be seeing a lot of passing from Watford, but nothing getting a little bit like Sheffield United, getting up to that final third, but just not getting a clear enough shot view on goal to get a shot, and I think that that will be a big thing here. I think that Charlton just have that clinical edge for me, and they showed it. If we go to Stevenage, now Stevenage actually have been pretty good for me. They've set their targets out. They've done some good acquisitions. It was always going to be a case of Charlton. Yeah, they would have remembered Stevenage from their League One days. They won 3-1. So it was Charlton 3, Stevenage 1. And to be honest, I think that this was a pretty. I mean, I'm going to say it was a pretty even game. One way then the other. Charlton 41% possession, 11 shots. That's pretty good for 41%. 4 on target, 3 in the net. clinical. Wow. And I've always said Charlton have the ability to be super clinical. 59% to Stevenage, 8 shots, 2 on target, 1 in the net. Pretty clinical there as well, to be honest. So we've got 2 teams here, Bristol and Charlton, who can both play pretty clinical football. This is going to be a lot more difficult than you think. Do I go for that clinical home team that can play some damn good football, and we know that they've done some great signings? Or do we go for the Charlton side, who's steadily improved this team? It really is clinical. It really can be clinical. What are you lot saying on this one? 3-1, 2-1, 1-0, 2-0. Now, I think that Charlton could win this one. I'll be quite honest. I think that both of these teams will. I think there's a good 2 or 3 goals in this, and I'm gonna stay with you lot. I'm gonna stay. I think this score could be either way round, but I'm gonna go with Bristol City 2, Charlton 1. But watch, this could be. This is gonna be 2-1. I just don't know which way round, guys. So you tell me in the comments. Like, subscribe, comment down below. So where do we go next after that one? After Bristol City, we go to Millwall versus Borough. So it's Millwall versus Borough. And what have we got here? Millwall, last time out, a 1-0 win to Newport. But I think that's really, again, one of those let's try a few things out games. Last time in the league, it was away, a win to Norwich City, 2-1 away there. And realistically, Millwall, to me, it was quite even for quite a long time. In fact, if you look at the stats, Millwall got 42% possession. Both of them had 15 shots. Both of them had 3 on target. And like we said with the Norwich review earlier, it was just Millwall that scored 2 out of 3 and Norwich scored 1 out of 3. It was just who was the most clinical on the day. They're playing a Borough side that last time out in the league won 1-0 at home to Swansea City. Now, Swansea City can score. They can score. They have the front edge to be able to do it. A little bit more. I was actually worried about the defence, but I didn't have to, did I? Because when Borough won Swansea City, I thought that Swansea defence would be quite poor, but Borough, 54% of the play, only 6 shots, and only 3 of those, 3 of them on target. Half of them were on target, but only 3 in the entire game. Swansea City's defence did do a lot better than what I thought, absolutely. Swansea City fans, I apologise, you did really well in defence. Borough, however, I think they deserved this one. They did edge it for me, but only just. And against a Swansea side that can play really well or pretty average. The last time out for Borough, Doncaster. Now this is just a case of just swapping people around. It was Borough 0, Doncaster 4. Now this has to be a 90+6 goal as well from Tom Nixon to make it 4. 63% possession to Borough. They were 18 shots to both of them. 5 shots on target for Borough, none in the net. I think that this was just a case of who they got on the. I mean, it looks like Doncaster were taking this seriously. It does look like Borough were taking this with any seriousness whatsoever, and. Got trounced 4-0. Will that make a difference? I think it will. I think it's going to edge the fans. I think that the fans are going to get on the backs of this side if they don't start to do something here. Millwall, though, at home, we did start to see a little bit of a better game plan at home last season towards the end. I think they played a lot better at home towards the end. And I think they started playing better at home. But in the middle, that home form was dreadful for me. Will they be playing better at home? Both Millwall's games, Norwich and Newport, were wins, but they were away from home. I think that they've got the tails up here. They could do really well. Millwall, Borough, 2-1, 1-0, 2-0, and 1-0. I'm going to go with Millwall 2, Borough 0. And we'll go on to the next game, which is Preston versus Leicester. Now, every man and his dog is going to be saying that Leicester are going to win this one. They have the class, they have the abilities, but this Preston side really did. I think the last time out in the league was a 1-1 draw away at QPR. An own goal. Actually, Preston scored both goals. An own goal for QPR on 41 minutes by Whiteman, and Preston scored 7 minutes later from Osmajic. So 1-1 against QPR. The thing about this is that QPR had 58% possession, 13 shots, but only 3 on target. That defence was actually really, really good. I was impressed by the Preston defence. I really was. 42% possession to Preston and 11 shots. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. 3 of them on target, okay, and 1 in the net. Now, both teams had 3 on target. Both had 1 in the net. Pretty good. What did I find impressive about the Preston game then? I found that defence was actually really good, really, really solid. Away in the Carabao Cup against Barrow, who we know they can do some shock results. We know they can. They have in the past. 1-0 win away to Barrow, so they've had 2 away games, Preston. 1-1 to QPR and 0-1 win against Barrow. Leicester City have, of course, played just the Championship game last weekend. 2-1 win at home to Sheffield Wednesday. Didn't they make a meal of it? I mean, everybody knew. They were all saying, look, it's when they're going to score, not if. Then they scored, and it was like, well, I think that they can now go on and win it. In fact, they probably will. They were peppering the Wednesday goal like mad. And I think that when that second goal came, it was almost by a sigh of relief went round the ground. So a home win there, 2-1 against a pretty good Sheffield Wednesday side. I must admit, I was impressed by the class from that reduced. I think they had got 15 players. I think Barry Bannon was saying 15 first team players. They played bloody well for that, didn't they? And that Leicester City side just couldn't handle it. And I'm thinking, could they handle a Preston side away from home? Because they only just managed to handle Wednesday side at home. And I'd be surprised if they do. Now, Preston, Leicester, you're saying 0-1, 1-1, 1-1 and 0-2. And I'm going to go away from both of you. I'm going to go against every one of you. I'm going to go Preston 1, Leicester 0. Tell me down below what you think. Give me your comments, like and subscribe. And we go on to the next game, which is that very same team. It's Sheffield Wednesday versus Stoke City. Now, Sheffield Wednesday, didn't they play absolutely brilliant? They've obviously got a problem now because I'm not sure whether... I don't think the Carabao Cup counts. Let's see on lineups for Sheffield Wednesday. Where's the Sheffield Wednesday game? They haven't played. Okay, they haven't played in the Carabao Cup. Sheffield Wednesday, yeah, it's going to be. They're going to be minus Barry Bannon, with the looks of it. So Leicester City there, the last game out. Stoke City, their last game out in the league was 3-1 home win against Derby County. We've already covered that. So Stoke City there. With 68% possession, winning 3-1, 12 shots, 7 on target, pretty good up front. Still think they're a little bit rocky at the back. I still think that they're prone to 1 or 2 mistakes at the back there. Although that Derby team should have been able to score more than just 1 because that front edge is really good. Walsall last time out in the Carabao Cup for Stoke City, 0-0. And again, that's really going to be one of those games that they move things around, test out a few younger players. I'm not really going to be taking much onus on that one. So let's have a look at the results you think it's going to be. 0-2, obviously Stoker away, remember. 0-2, 1-2, 1-2, 1-1. I think Barry Bannon's loss will be a really, really big one. And it was so stupid because at that point in time, they'd all just let in that goal. They weren't, it made no, it was no, there was no reason behind it. There was absolutely pointless sending off because it wouldn't have made any difference whether he sort of tackled or not. There's just no reason for it. So I actually think that this side is capable of winning it. I think that this side is definitely capable of winning Stoke, but I think looking at the resilience for so long in that game against Leicester, I can see Wednesday scoring, absolutely, even without Barry. And I think that they will be less likely to let one in, surely, against Stoke than they are against Leicester. So what are you? I think I'm going to go with the Sheffield Wednesday 1, Stoke City 1. I just think that Wednesday can do this one and get the first point on the board. Next game is Swansea versus Sheffield United. And Swansea, last league game was against Middlesbrough, 1-0 defeat away from home. Swansea, like I say, they can score. And it's surprised really that they didn't. They had 46% possession, but neither team seemed to want to lose this game, to be quite honest. 3 shots on target for Middlesbrough, 1 shot on target for Swansea. They only had 3 shots at target, Swansea, but there again, Middlesbrough only had 6. This was a pretty dire game, and it's not like what I expected from the Swansea side. They will be wanting to do better this next game. Crawley last time out, Carabao Cup, 3-1 winners. You know, they'll be testing a few things. I don't think that they would have taken it that seriously. They are through though, and let's see. Let's have a quick look at the stats. Crawley had a man sent off on 83. Swansea City 61% possession, 21 shots, 8 at target, 3 in the net. You know, this could have been so much more, couldn't it? And the defence did well, 2 on target for Crawley the entire game. So yeah, they did do well. This Swansea City you can see their defence is showing some really good signs, and we know that attack certainly has some good signs in it. Sheffield United last time out in the was the league, of course, just the 4-1 defeat at home to Bristol City. And to be honest, I thought that was a pretty poor. Well, it was a poor performance. Sheffield United 74% possession, 20 shots, 6 on target, which is a little bit low for a top 3 side. We want 1 or 2 more than that on target. And even then, 6 on target, 1 in the net. You know, they should have been looking for at least 2 here. It was their defence. Their defence was absolutely awful. Let's just look at the on target. It was 9 shots, 5 on target for Bristol City, 5 on target, 4 in the net. You know, there's something wrong when they can score, when they can shoot 5 times at the net and 4 of them get into the back. Don't care where they came from, how they got in there, or how close or far away they were. 5 shots, 4 in the net is showing either a superb attack, which I know that Bristol City will say it's them, or it's showing a really inept defence, or a combination of both. Please do tell me what your thoughts are. I think it was more of about 80% inept defence, 20% very good strikers from Bristol City. Of course, some Mehmeti, McCrory, and Twine. You know, you've got to be kidding. It's a really good strike force there, isn't it? So, what are you saying here? Swansea versus Sheffield United, 2-1, 1-1, 1-2, 2-1. Thank you very much. You're going with 2-1. Now, which way is it going to go? Against a Swansea City side that, of course, lost to Borough and then won against Crawley. I think that this Swansea side is quite capable of doing something against Sheffield United, much like Bristol City did when they trounced them in the last game. But I think Sheffield United, last season, they always seemed to have one or two blip. They kept doing little one or two really odd games at home, and they'd lose or draw 3-3, and you're thinking, where did that come from? But they never managed to. It didn't extend into 4, 5, 6 games. In fact, it very rarely extended into 2. I think that Sheffield United will turn this around. I think I'm going to go, and even though Swansea, I know that they can be really clinical. That defence can be really, really good, can't it? But I'm still going to go with it. I'm going to go with Swansea City 1, Sheffield United 2. There we are. I've made my decision. And as you realize, I was going to turn it round then, but I'm not. I'm going to keep it with a Sheffield United win. Yeah, you saw me then. I nearly curved. Watford versus QPR next, and what Norwich City in the Carabao Cup for Watford last time out, 2-1 defeat. Charlton to a 1-0 defeat away from home. Now that Charlton game we have covered. Charlton Watford. Watford actually did really well. 58% possession, 10 shots against Charlton's 12. Only 1 on target though, so they weren't very clinical. And this side's certainly shooting more often than they have over recent seasons, plural. And I think that this is going to be an interesting fight, because I think that Watford have shown there that they can indeed shoot, but they need to be a little bit more clinical in front of goal. The Norwich City one, they didn't make too many big changes here. I think Watford, 45% possession, 10 shots, 2 on target, 1 in the net. I mean, 2 on target, 1 in the net is pretty good, isn't it? But 2 out of 10, they should be. Again, it's the clinical edge. They seem to be shooting, but not enough of them are actually on target. Norwich City, 11 shots, 5 on target. That's where you need to be, and that's why they lost the game. They're playing a QPR side who last time out in the league, Preston 1-1, and of course QPR in that game, 58% possession, 13 shots, 3 on target, a little bit low. Came out with a 1-1. It was that game with 3 shots each, and both scored one of them. The Preston defence was really good, keeping them away from the back, and that's where I'm sort of pondering the possibility that QPR might be able to get into that back behind that Watford back line a little bit easier in this game, I think. Although Watford will have shots, whether they're on target is the point for me. So Watford versus QPR. QPR last time at Preston in the league. 3-2 away defeat to Plymouth in the Carabao Cup. And of course Plymouth, they did actually, if we look at let's have a look at the teams for QPR and just have a quick look. Yeah, I mean, they made a couple of changes. They were using it for a bit of a test, QPR, by the looks of it, trying to sort of just see whether 5 across the mid was the thing to be doing against them. It's a very good test, because obviously Plymouth went down from the Championship, so it was pretty good test, because they've still got quite good field of players. Plymouth 3-2 defeat does show that they can score, absolutely, but that I would have hoped they'd done better at the back end against Plymouth, even with 1 or 2 secondary players. Both of these teams, lose and draw-lose, want to get something from this game, and I just got this awful feeling, guys, that both of these teams are going to plant the bus and think, we just don't want to lose this one. We cannot afford to lose. QPR have got at least got 1 point on the board from one game. They don't want to be losing. They don't want to be not winning it. Well, but a draw would be okay, but they don't really want to be doing that. They certainly don't want to be losing it. Watford certainly don't want to be losing it. They've already got 0 points from the first game, so I can see this one being a 0-0 as both teams try and pull right back, and those lots of shots for Watford drop down just a little bit. Still lots of shots, but not quite as many as we would expect, even at home. And if the sort of ratio continues, I can see Watford not scoring. QPR, on the other hand, if Watford pull back and start defending, they're quite capable of keeping that QPR team out. Even though they scored 2 against Plymouth, yeah, probably. What are you saying? It's Watford QPR 1-2, 1-1, 1-2, and 2-0. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna sit on the fence. I'm gonna Watford 1, QPR 1, and we'll move on to the next game. So we go with Ipswich Southampton. Ipswich drew away at Birmingham, and what a 90 plus 5 minutes. I actually think Birmingham deserved to win that one. Ipswich, I think, were very, very lucky indeed. I think Birmingham really did well, and Ipswich really got away with a point there, didn't they? Birmingham won. Ipswich won 90 plus 5 minutes penalty. Ipswich 49% possession, 7 shots, only 1 on target. You know, there's not a lot you can say about that team. Southampton, though, they did draw last time out against Bromley as well. So we're seeing a side that's not clinical, for me, enough in front of goal. An ex-Premier League side, their B team, should be able to beat Bromley hands down. Southampton, that was the 2-1 win against Wrexham, wasn't it? 90 plus 6 minute winner for Southampton. Did they deserve it? Absolutely not. Wrexham played really well. 75% possession to Southampton. Look, everybody was saying that they were bound to score. They were bound to score, and then when they did get the equaliser, they're saying, they're bound to get. I think it was about 7 minutes extra time, wasn't they? And it's like, Southampton are going to win this one. They're going to win this one. It was much like the Sheffield Wednesday game. They're going to win it. They're going to win it. People were saying the same things with this game, and. 75% for Southampton's 27 shots, 10 on target, only 2 in the net. You know, they would have been quite disappointed. You can tell that that Wrexham pulled back and gave them a little bit too much space, because they only had 2 shots, Wrexham, on target, 10 at target. They were kept away quite well. That defence was really strong for Southampton. The attack is really strong. Not clinical enough in the final hit of the ball. Wrexham, 2-1 win for Southampton in the last league game. Northampton 1-0 win in the Carabao Cup, probably changing lots of players there. I think that for me, the Ipswich late win draw against Birmingham really does pop it off for me. That Southampton side is capable of doing great things, but that Ipswich side can actually put up the back stoppers and put up a really good defence. Birmingham kept looking like they might be able to get through, but just couldn't get past that defence. 2 strong defences. What are you saying? 1-1, 1-2, 1-1, 2-2. I'm going to go with the majority, I think. I'm going to agree with you. Ipswich 1, Southampton 1. I move to the last game quickly for you. Hull City versus Oxford. Now, Hull City versus Oxford. Hull City last time out in the league was Coventry 0-0. And it was let's just go for the Hull City side of this. They speed things up. Hull City were 42% possession, 7 shots, 3 on target, none in the net. They allowed they allowed Coventry to get the shots to 18 shots, but they made sure that they were all either from distance or from odd angles. And 3 of them were on target, 8 of them were off target, 7 of them were blocked. So they actually do have a really good defensive setup. So I think that the Hull City side there should be quite proud of that defence. On the other hand, 3-3 draw again in the Carabao Cup against Wrexham. Look, we know Wrexham have some good front end, and we know that they can defend well, but that it can be broke through. So here, 3 against them. I'm not surprised. 3 scored from Hull City. Not that surprised. But they did let in 3, and that was strange for me. It just did. That defence was chalk and cheese. So Oxford United were playing Portsmouth last time out, and they lost 1-0 to Portsmouth on a Segetic winner on 38 minutes. Oxford United were at home, of course, 49% possession, 18 shots, twice as many as Portsmouth, but they both had 4 shots on target, of which Oxford scored none, Portsmouth scored 1. It was just flick of a coin, and who's going to get that 1 out of 4. On the day, it was Portsmouth. Portsmouth won 1-0. So it was Oxford 0, Portsmouth 1, and then Oxford won in the Carabao Cup against Colchester. But I'm not going to suggest anything about the side there. We're just going to let that one be. Both of these sides really wanting to show they can play some good football. Hull City, for me, having that defence as strong as it is, I think that it can be strong. It weakened a little bit, well, quite a lot against Wrexham, but I think that hopefully they were trying 1 or 2 different younger kids in it. What are you saying? 0-0, 1-0, 1-0, 1-0. Guess what? I'm going to go for Hull City 1, Oxford 0. Thank you very much. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.